Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me. So in this video what I kind of want to do is just kind of do a quick tip on how to draw hair. So this right here is a drawing I'm working on right now. This is Sophie Dosey or Dossie. I feel bad if I'm saying her last name wrong, but she's a super famous gymnast and contortionist. As you can see, she's got feet on top of her head. That's actually her feet. That's not someone else's. That's her. She's like bending them like that. It's crazy. But I wanted to just kind of do a quick little tip video on how to draw hair. So we're gonna take a look at this, and then I'm gonna kind of show how not to draw hair, essentially. And then I'm going to kind of demonstrate a little bit on how to better draw hair. So a common misconception that people tend to make when they're trying to draw hair is they try to, let me sharpen this pencil a little bit, they try to draw like each little strand of hair, or they'll just kind of do this kind of thing, where they're not really making the full effect. It kind of looks grainy, and it makes it hard to, like add layers, things like that. And it's just not the best way to go about drawing hair. And something else people kind of tend to do is they tend to like draw each individual little strand, which is not the way to go. Typically the best way to draw hair is you don't necessarily want to like draw each little strand, because that's impossible to do. I mean, you're never gonna achieve the level of realism that you want, because when you're drawing hair, you want to burnish the hair, you want to layer the hair, you want to do everything you can to make it look real, and just drawing like lines like such is not the way to do it. If your goal is realism, then this isn't what you want to do. But if your goal is like realism, then basically you want to just kind of draw the hair the same way you might draw a face. Like you want to do hair in much the same way, but there's a different way to go about it than just like with skin. You want to put your different tones in and things like that. You want to do the same thing, and we're just going to kind of just give a little bit of an example right here. What I do is I kind of draw in the lightest color first. And you remember how I said you want to draw in, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Okay, so you want to color in the lightest highlight color first, and as you can see, that's kind of what I've done here. And then you just kind of then you layer it out. You go over it a couple of different times. What I like to do is I like to just sort of, when I'm coloring in, I'll just kind of start off with a little bit of the lighter color, and then once that's kind of filled in, then I'll take a darker brown, and that's kind of when I start to do a bit more of the actual drawing. See, the trick is you don't necessarily want to color in each individual strand, because hair clumps together. So as you're drawing hair, you don't want to draw each individual strand, like as I demonstrated kind of right here, because you kind of end up with not so good luck when you do that. But what I do is I draw each individual clump of hair. I don't draw each individual strand, I just draw the clumps. That's kind of what you want to remember as you're drawing your hair. you just want to draw the clumps, because that's really all that anyone really sees, because the clumps of hair, you rarely ever see individual strands, so you kind of see how kind of drawing these spaces around these spaces right here. Well, those are individual clumps. Kind of down here, we do another little strand just like that, and then we kind of bring it out just like that. And as you can see, that's kind of how you want to do it. And then in the darker places, you could go ahead and press down, use a little bit more pressure. But what I like to do for the more darker places is I like to go over it with a little bit of a black pencil, because you really want to create contrast between the highlights, the lighter areas, and the shadows. The more contrast you have, the more real your drawing is going to look. So that's kind of a bit of an example that we got right there. I'm going to actually add a little bit more, because this is actually a pretty dark spot right here on her hair. Now on this side, the light is coming in from over here, so there's not a whole lot of lit up hair on this side, so a lot of this over here is going to be really dark. Okay, and then what I like to do is I'm going to take the black pencil, and I'm just going to kind of really draw in more of the more shadowy shaded parts. Really kind of make them stick out a bit more. Just kind of keep it center to what you've already drawn. Kind of right here, as you can see, you don't want to draw too much of that, but you kind of want to fade it in, kind of go lightly with your black pencil and just sort of fade it in. But over here where it's really dark, that's where you really want to make the black pencil kind of do its thing. Okay, you can even make new areas on your own with the black pencil if you want, but what I kind of like to do is just kind of use it as a contrast tool, so to speak, or to really darken the shadows, kind of like what I'm doing right here. It gets really dark right about here, so we're going to kind of color that in as dark as we can. Well, not as dark as you can, just color it in. If you go really pressure, really hard on the pressure, then it's gonna make it look wrong. So you kind of don't want to do that. But you can kind of see what I'm going with here. Yeah, don't draw individual strands. Just draw the contrast, or not the contrast, but the clumps. You just want to draw the clumps together and make the clumps really stand out. That's basically how you want to do it. Don't draw individual strands, just draw clumps, and be sure to create those highlights, like with the lighter background. Really brings out the highlights really well. And go in after you've got your lighter background in. Go in with your darker colors, your midway brown, like a light umber, then I do a dark umber, and then I use black pencil. So that's basically how you want to do that. And as you can see, I kind of already have a nice start over here on this side. I think this is her left side. It's my right, but it's her left. On my right side here, I already got a pretty good start, and we already got some good contrast going on here. But yeah, you can kind of see how this kind of looks more real. You got the contrast between the shadow and the lighter part. That's really what makes it pop. That's what makes it stand out. So and you can kind of see that's kind of what we got over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue with this on an exclusive Patreon video. I'm gonna go into real detail. I'm gonna continue finishing out this part of the hair, and you guys could all follow along with me on that if you want on my Patreon, which is only $1 a month. That's the only tier. I'm not trying to break anybody's bank. For that, you get full tutorials, and once I start getting some patrons on my Patreon. That's when I'm going to start posting updates and things like that, and you can see my more original stuff on there. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Do subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see y'all again very soon.